Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Kayak Bass Fishing. Today I'm going to talk to you about how not to catch a big fish. All right, so more often than not, we get questions about how to catch big fish. How do you catch a big fish? What's your favorite big fish bait? Man, tell me about catching big fish. The problem is, it's not the things that you do right that are helping you catch big fish. It's the things you do wrong that are keeping you from catching big fish. And I'm gonna go through a few of those, okay? First and foremost, the number one way to not catch a big fish is to move too fast, to make too much noise, and to not be cognizant of everything that you do, okay? So I'm gonna talk about some things that are probably gonna make a lot of people think that they're not important, right? You gotta be kidding me. That fish can't, that don't matter. I've heard it all, okay? And so I'm gonna talk through most of my things that I know that I do to eliminate that have helped me catch big fish over the years. Now, first and foremost, banging your boat, okay? If you bang the side of your kayak with your paddle and you're in the proximity of a big fish, you're not gonna catch that fish. You have alerted that wary fish that there's something foreign there that is gonna make them, not be willing to bite, not be willing to move, not be willing to do anything until they're 100% sure that the threat is gone. And most people don't have the confidence, they don't have the wherewithal, or they don't have the patience to stop and sit in one spot for 15, 20, 30 minutes, even an hour before doing anything else. So I'll just tell you this, when you're fishing for big fish, you are hunting those big fish. If you're walking through the woods and you happen to see a deer and it looks like that deer sees you, the first thing that you would do is stop. And you'd watch that deer and you wouldn't move again until you were confident that that deer had relaxed and calmed down and had started to go back to its normal pattern. Now, unlike a deer, a fish doesn't have the ability to snort at you and turn around and bound away with its tail sticking up. You pretty much know when you spooked a deer, and you know when you've spooked an animal because you can see it run away, you can see it flee, you can hear it crashing through the woods. By and large, when you spook a big fish, they generally just kind of dart off and then slowly glide out of sight, and then they go find a piece of cover or structure to relate to that makes them feel secure that they're gonna hang out there until the threat is gone. If I'm big fish fishing, for the most part, I am sliding into a spot and I'm taking my time, and before I even work my way into a particular cove, arm, creek channel bend, or wherever I'm gonna target these big fish, I stop and take a great deal of time to assess the situation, to assess the scenario. And so I'm gonna walk you through some of the things that I consider before moving in, and if I do something wrong, how I alleviate that if I still plan to catch big fish. So let's say I'm approaching a cove, okay? And this cove has a relatively narrow opening. And as I go up to the cove, the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna get on the down sun side. In other words, I'm gonna put the sun in my face and I'm gonna go to the down sun side. I'm gonna pull over to the side. I'm gonna anchor my boat. I'm gonna pull up on the bank and I'm gonna open up my Navionics chart, okay? Through my Navionics chart, I'm gonna be looking for travel corridors. I'm gonna be looking for depressions, ditches, major structural changes that create funnels, and anything that is gonna make me feel like that's one of the places that I need to target. Now, a lot of this I do over the course of pre-fishing research and pre-trip planning, but I will do my best to set my mindset right before I proceed to go into the target zone by reviewing that information even when I'm on the water. I'll open up aerial photos, look at the aerial photos, look at my position relative to it. Once I've done that, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check the weather. What direction is the wind coming from? Rather than just looking and observing what I see on the water, a lot of times there are funnels and things that make the wind look like it's doing one thing, especially in your Highland reservoirs or things that have, elevation changes as the backdrop. And so you may think, oh, the wind's coming from this direction. You paddle into a cove and something completely different's happened. So I'm going to check the weather and then I'm going to check the topography and say, okay, well, if the wind's coming from the north and I see it swirling over here, I need to be on that north bank so I can stay out of the wind. Or I need to go on the south bank and fish into the wind and bring my lure away. And again, I'm just going to assess everything that's going on and set myself up for success before I start to pursue the fish. So now let's push into the cove, and I've paddled my way in, and I'm slowly but surely working my way into position that I've already decided. I'm gonna be very cognizant not to bang the side of my boat with my paddle. I'm gonna be very mindful of my paddle stroke. I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna make the paddle move very slow. And a lot of times I don't even take the paddle out of the water when I'm pursuing big fish. I'll turn it knife edge and scull back to the front and just work my way in. And I'll use pressure on one side so that I don't even have to change sides. Makes it easier for me to work my way in there. It's kind of like spreading peanut butter on a sandwich or butter on a piece of toast, and you're just very methodically, very slowly moving your way in. And then I'm going to decide where I want to stalk the fish first. I'm going to decide what target I have, and I'm going to have a preconceived notion of where I want to position myself. I may position myself and put my power pole down. I may position myself and sneak my anchor wizard weight to the bottom. I may position myself and use a bush hook to clip to a piece of cover, but I'm going to be very purposeful and very mindful in that movement. I'm going to go in quietly. I'm going to go in and be very, very methodical about where I move, when I move, how I move. By and large, if I know where big fish are, I try not to stand up until I'm in position, unless I'm standing up looking for fish and I'm in a search mode, and then when I see one, I can stop. I can put my power pole down. I can ease down and not spook the fish. So if I know where the big fish are, I'm probably not going to stand. I'm going to lower my profile. I'm going to reduce my chances of being seen. I'm going to wear darker clothing. I'm going to use a darker paddle blade. I'm going to position myself where I'm looking into the sun so that my shadow doesn't get there first. Sun angle is a big one. A lot of people ruin their chances of catching a big fish by paddling in to the spot, coming in from the direction where their sun's at their back. Your shadow gets there first. Game over. You're not catching a fish. Doing things like dropping pliers, dropping lures into the boat, setting your rod down and bumping your seat frame. Now, sound travels 4 times as fast in water as it does in air. And so when you have contact with a vessel, like a kayak that's in the water, especially a plastic hollow drum, and you bump it, that sound is transmitted into the water, and it's going to go 4 times as fast and 4 times as far as it does in air, and that's really going to spook fish. As a kid, you were told not to knock on an aquarium because it sounds like an explosion going off to the fish. So think about that when you're a fisherman going out there trying to convince a fish to take your presentation. Now, the second thing I'm going to do is, after I position myself into the target area, the zone, the place that I'm going to go, I generally do a bit of mindset adjustment, okay? I don't want to call it meditation because I'm not meditating. I'm not pulling up to the spot and crossing my fingers and doing the none of that, all right? But what I do is I pull into the spot, I sit down, and then I review. Am I in the right spot? Are the fish going to be where I think they are? And it just takes 15 or 20 minutes for me to set my mindset right. Now, a lot of people think this is crazy, and it's probably not something you're going to do on tournament day. But what you want to do is you want to let the area settle. You want to let everything kind of go back to normal. You want to let even your intrusion into the space dissipate. The last thing you want to do is wiggle your boat, okay? Turning around, grabbing stuff out of your black pack. Turn around and, adjusting things on your depth finder. Doing all of those things that cause commotion, movement, vibration, ripples in the water, which are pressure waves that let the fish know you're there. Get your stuff together before you move into the strike zone. Get your stuff together before you move into the target zone. Again, don't bang your boat. Don't drop stuff on your boat. Don't shuffle around creating vibrations. Don't flip your black pack lid over and let it smack the side of the boat. Don't adjust your anchor trolley where the ring clicks the side of the boat or the pulleys click the side of the boat. Don't pedal your kayak if you're a peddler. If you're a peddler, once you're in the target zone, pick up your paddle and be stealth about it. Try to create as little vibration as possible. Again, don't bang anything. Don't drop anything. Don't do anything that you absolutely don't have to do, and don't create any unnecessary movements. I see this a lot, and I'm a big fan of standing up, but people will paddle into a spot standing up, and then they're standing there trying to fish, and they're constantly wiggling their feet, which is creating this pressure waves. If you pull a drone over the top and you look, it looks like just like a constant radiation going away from them. And that is basically letting fish know that you're there. They can detect that through their lateral line. So if you are going to stand up and fish, once you get stood up, put a little weight on one leg, tilt that boat to the side and get it locked in. Make sure that your rods in your rod holder are pushed down to where they're a little bit secure so that they don't rattle in the rod holders. Make sure that everything on your boat is secured. Don't set a set of pliers on your depth finder, and then when you stand up and lean the boat, they fall off and smack the deck. If you don't have the ability for your scuppers to not gurgle, put scupper plugs in them. do not pick your paddle up and set it down on the boat so that it rocks back and forth and does the you know, get a roto grip from Yak Attack. Have a position to secure that paddle. Put a piece of, you know, moleskin or padding around it where it's going to contact your boat. Don't pick your paddle up and let it sit across your lap and the drips fall off the end of it. I've observed those paddle drips making a fish swim away when a camera guy has paddled up next to me and put the paddle on their lap and it's dripping in the water, or a fellow angler, or my son Austin, or my wife Christy. I've seen it. So I'm telling you, I'm sharing this with you. You asked me how to catch big fish, and I'm telling you, to catch big fish, and I said this in the kayak fishing experience, and I've said it in all of my seminars, to catch a big fish, not only do you have to do everything right, you know, to not catch one, you only got to do one of these things wrong, and you're gonna blow it. It's like hunting a big buck, right? You can do 99.999% of everything right, but if you do one of those things wrong, cough at the wrong time, move at the wrong time, have the wrong scent, don't have good scent control, position yourself out of position, all of those things have to come together. So when you're fishing for monster bass, when you're fishing for big bass, when you're fishing to consistently catch fish, quality fish, then you have to eliminate all of these things that stack the odds against you for catching these fish. Now, presentation's a big thing, lure selection's a big thing, but I'm gonna forego that discussion because the purpose of this video is to answer the question, what is the biggest mistake you can make when going after big fish? I think the number one biggest mistake that you can make is not thinking about all the little things. Sweat the small stuff. Another one that's a big one for me, especially if I'm structure fishing or cover on structure fishing, that spot on the spot, once I find my fish, once I know they're there, I'm shutting my electronics off. Okay, a lot of people are going to tell me, call BS on this, call it crap, whatever you want to call it. But for the most part, I'm doing everything I can to stack the odds in my favor. I don't want that vibrator inside the transducer to spook the fish. I don't want the extra sensory capabilities that they have through their lateral line to detect that sonar signal. I don't want to do anything that's going to put the odds. So I go to standby on my unit or power it off once I know where the fish are. And I may find the fish and come back 2 hours later to fish for them, because just in case I, you know, put them on edge. So a lot of this sounds crazy. A lot of people are going to say, man, that just sounds like work. And it is work. It's a lot of work to catch big fish. But if you're obsessed with it, if you want to take that goal of besting your personal best and then besting that personal best and then besting that personal best, or just to grow as an angler to more consistently catch fish, you have to think like you're hunting that fish and that you're trying to find that fish and then become the prey. You're not going out there and targeting that fish as the predator. You have to go out there, be undetected, mimic the prey, and let that fish attack your presentation. And honestly, it really is that simple. Do your homework. Spend your time preparing. Know where the fish should be. Go out and confirm that they're there. If you potentially spook the fish, don't keep fishing for it. Have the discipline and the wherewithal to back off, leave that fish alone, and come back and find it later. If you spooked a deer while walking in the woods, you wouldn't take off through the woods running after it, trying to catch up to it, because you know you're just going to push it further away. You'd back out. You'd let it settle. You'd go try to figure out where that buck went, or where it's going to be the next day or the day after or 2 days later, and you'd come back and you would hunt it. Do the exact same thing for big fish. When you see a big fish and you spook it and you don't catch it, mark it. That is now a known big fish area. Give it 3 days and come back and fish again. Give it a week, give it 2 weeks and come back. Or at least know as a reference point, that's where you found big fish before, and consider that a win, because finding big fish is half the battle. Okay, and then use that as a reference point for knowing where that fish is that time of year. And then you can use known seasonal migration patterns, known tendencies to look at your Navionics chart or your mapping and figure out where that fish would have been 2 weeks before that and where that fish should be 2 weeks after that. And you can use that to build on and target that fish in the future, or target fish like that fish in the future. So again, if you want to catch big fish, what you have to eliminate is the things that you do wrong. And the biggest mistakes you can make is fishing too fast, fishing too aggressive, being too loud, not being mindful of sun angles, not being mindful of the other things that you're doing out there. But I'll tell you, one of the other really big mistakes that anglers make trying to catch big fish is not using scent, okay? You're fishing for the wariest fish out there, and that fish can detect anything from, you know, shaving cream to beard lotion to, you know, toothpaste to cigarette smoke to dip to any of those foreign things that you might come in contact with. So you need to stack the odds in your favor by putting some scent on your bait to cover up your natural tendency to have foreign things on there, but more importantly, to end the formula of they see it, they think it's real, now it smells real, it looks real, and then when they grab a hold to it, it tastes real, so they hold on to it a little bit longer to give you that extra second to set the hook. So be very methodical. Learn about your fish. Prepare for the fish. Have a plan when you go fishing. Eliminate your mistakes. Add scent to your baits. Be very mindful of the fact that you're using that as a cover scent to cover up foreign bodies. At the same time, you're making it more attractive to the fish, both to get them to bite it and to make them hold on to it longer so you can set the hook. Do those 4 or 5 things differently when you go out fishing, and you're gonna catch fish. The next thing you gotta do to catch big fish is you have to be willing to go after catching big fish. You have to leave little fish. If you're catching 1,000 schoolies, you're probably not in the spot big fish are. So you have to start asking yourself, where are the big fish? And be willing to not catch anything. To be willing to not catch anything is the hardest hump that people get over. Don't safety up and go back and take a Cinco out and catch a 2-pounder and go, okay, good, to get my confidence back up. You have to be confident that you're going to go days without catching a fish, but understand that your focus is catching big fish. And when you make your focus catching big fish, you'll start to catch them. So anyway, guys, I'm Chad Hoover. Hope you liked this video. Smash that thumbs up button. Leave a comment in the comment section. Tell me what you think. If you like these type of videos, if you want me to see more like it, or if there's anything in the video that I talked about that you'd like me to expand on, then let me know. All right, thank y'all for the support, and we'll see you in the next video.